Hello friends, welcome to Tech Tutorials with Mobisoft. In this tutorial, we will guide you through common PostgreSQL tasks using command line utilities such as psql, pgdump, and pgrestore. We will leverage Docker to run multiple versions of PostgreSQL on same computer. This is useful when you need different versions of the database for different projects. By the end of this tutorial, you will be comfortable with starting a PostgreSQL instance using Docker, connecting to it, performing basic operations such as running SQL queries, handling backups, and restores. So let's get started. So I have logged in into a Linux computer. Now let's first create some directories to make our life easy. So in our home directory, we are creating an opt directory, and inside that we are creating a pg16 directory. 16 because we are going to use PostgreSQL version 16, which is the latest version of PostgreSQL. Then we create a data directory inside the pg16 directory. Then let's switch to the pg16 directory and let's create the Docker Compose file. So here we are starting with an image called as PostGIS slash PostGIS 16-3.4. So rather than using a plain PostgreSQL image, I am using a PostGIS image because PostGIS is a very popular spatial plugin which lets you do some cool things with PostgreSQL. We do a lot of logistics and transportation related projects, so PostGIS is important for us. So how to find this image? So for that, let's go to Docker Hub. In the Docker Hub, search for PostGIS slash PostGIS. Here you can see all the supported versions of PostgreSQL. So we have selected the PostGIS 16-3.4 version. Then we are specifying a password for our Postgres user. Here we are saying that on our local host, the PostgreSQL should be available on the port 5416, and we are binding our data directory that we just created for the PostgreSQL data directory. So let's check it. Our directory and the file, the Docker Compose file are there. So let's start it. -D for detached mode. For the first time, it will pull the image. It's done. Docker PS, and we can see our container running. Now, we need a PostgreSQL client to access our PostgreSQL database. So for that, we will install PostgreSQL client package. Here are the commands to do that. All these commands will be available in the linked blog in the description. Let's update the repo again. And now let's install the client. As you can see, we are not installing the PostgreSQL server. We are only installing the client because we already have the PostgreSQL server running in the Docker container. So here we have the PSQL command available to us. Now, to connect to PostgreSQL, we will need a command like this. So here we are saying that we want to connect to localhost. In your case, this host might be a IP or a domain name. Maybe you have deployed your PostgreSQL on RDS, so it will be the domain name for your RDS database. We are saying that we want to connect on port 5416 because that is where we bound our PostgreSQL on localhost. User is Postgres. Dash W means I want to specify a password, and Postgres is the database that we are going to connect to. The password was in the Docker Compose file that we had created. It was Mobisoft hash 8976, and we have connected to the database. So now let's see how to create a new database. So let's go back to our PSQL where we are connected to the Postgres database. Here is the command to create a new database. So the name of the database is example DB, and it is always good to specify the collate and C-type properties to en underscore us.utf8. This way you can handle international characters properly in your database, such as Spanish accents or Chinese names and things like that. And we are specifying that the template should be template 0, which is an empty template for Postgres. So let's run this command. Now it says the database is created. To view the databases, the command in PSQL is /l. So here it shows that our database is created, example DB. But this output is a little bit hard to understand because of the number of columns. So let's exit out of this with Q and let's press /x, which stands for extended display. Now it's turned on, and if we look at the list of databases again, it gives us nice vertically formatted data which we can read properly. So name of the database is example.db. The owner is Postgres. Encoding is UTF-8. Collation and C type, you can see that it's en underscore us.utf-8, which is what we had provided. We can get out of. Now let's say that we want to connect to the database that we just created. Command for that is /c, and you have to specify the name of the database, which is example.db in our case. Press enter. It will ask for the password. So now we are connected to the example.db as user Postgres. If we want to see the list of tables, we can press /d, and it will say that did not find any relations. So there are no tables in this database. Now, to explore this further, we need to create some sample data. Let's use PgBench utility to create that sample data. So to exit out of PSQL, the command is /q. Now let's install PgBench. The command for that is sudo apt-get install PostgreSQL contrib-16. So we are installing this PostgreSQL contrib package. It's done. Now using next to PgBench command, we will just generate some sample data. That's done. Now next command. Now that's done. Let's connect to our example DB. Now we can see the tables. We can see there are these four tables that pgbench has created. One of the important things that you need to know is table sizes. It is very important while doing backup and restore jobs to understand what are the sizes of different tables so you can plan accordingly. So here is a SQL command to do the same. Don't worry, all these commands are available in the blog that is linked in the description. So you can take all these commands from there. So it shows us that the biggest table is the pgbench underscore accounts table, which is 152 MB, and the rest of the tables are pretty small. Now let's go back to our bash. One of the important things as a developer you need to do is to export some table data from time to time. You can use psql to dump output of any SQL command or query to a CSV file. So let's see how to do that. Let's go back to our terminal. Let's create a backup directory in our home directory. Then here is the command which you can use to output a query to CSV. psql -h, your hostname, -p, your port, -u, Postgres, your user, and -w, which means you will specify the password when asked, name of the database, -c, and then you specify your command. Copy in bracket whatever command you need to std out with CSV header. So this will create a CSV output, and then we are redirecting that output to a file pgbench underscore accounts in the backup directory. So if we run this command, the file will be created. So let's go to that directory and let's print the top 10 rows of this file. So you can see the data for the top 10 rows is here. The command was head-10. So head command gives you top n number of rows which you specify from a given file. Now, if you see, the file is 92 MB, which is quite big. So generally before downloading this file, it is advisable to gzip this file. To do that, the command is tar-czvf, name of the gzip file and name of the file you want to gzip. Let's run this. And if you run ls-lh now, you can see it is just 3.1 MB. Depending on how much repetitive your data is, you will get different compression ratio. But from 92 MB to 3.1 MB is quite nice. Next, let's see how to use pg underscore dump and pg underscore restore commands. Let's go back to our shell. We are already in the backup directory. So here is the command to use pgdump. As you can see, the command is pg underscore dump. These parameters I have explained quite a few times already in this video. The new parameter is dash format is equal to C, which specifies compressed format, and dash file is the path of the file where we are going to save the backup, and name of the database. So let's run it. Our backup is ready. So here is the backup, and since it's already compressed, you can see its size is 3.8 MB. Now, next, let's see how we can take a dump, but by excluding some tables. This is sometimes useful if we want to exclude a very big table from the dump, which we don't need. So here the new command line parameter is dash dash exclude table pg bench underscore history. So we are telling that we want to exclude this pg bench underscore history table, and rest of the parameters are still the same. Now our new dump is also ready, and it is a bit smaller because it's missing one table. Next, let's see how we can restore this dump file to a new database. So let's create a new database. Here we are using the PsqL command from bash shell, and we are using the same create database command with a new database name. So let's run it. Our database is ready. Now let's restore to it. So the command is pg underscore restore, the same parameters. Here dash d is the parameter which allows you to specify to which database you want to restore. And here dash f specifies what is the format. C is for compressed. And we are specifying the path of the file from which the database should be restored. It will take a few moments and it's done. Let's connect to PSQL to check data in this new DB. So all our four tables are still there. That's it for this tutorial. In this tutorial, you have learned how to handle common PostgreSQL tasks from the command line, including starting a PostgreSQL instance with Docker, connecting to the database, and creating and managing databases. Also, we looked at how to create backups using pgdump command and how to restore them with pg underscore restore command. Thank you, friends. If you liked this tutorial, please do subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends. Thank you.